on. Kim, for you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for participating. Thank you for staff for being involved in that. It's always nice when that happens, and glad people played along. So welcome everyone to the Tuesday, May 28th, 2024 Council Chambers meeting. We would like to begin this meeting by acknowledging that we are gathered on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Inca, Kapma, and Selk people. Any public input at all? Excellent. Who would that be? Oh, sorry, we're closed. Mr. Charney, please come on up. Always a pleasure. I'll get you to push that little button there. And then you're off. There you are.
Okay, I was here a couple weeks ago, so I guess we probably go through the same thing. Anyway, I live at 1499 Main Street. And my name is Lloyd Charney. And I'm here basically for the topic of rezoning. And I think that it's a fairly serious topic, and it affects a lot of people, including myself. And I think that what I've seen so far in the paper and a little bit of research is that I'm not too happy with one of the aspects of it. I'm dealing with basically talking, I think you're going to talk about the provincial government and the rezoning, which is up to them. They can do whatever they want. But I also see that in the paper and in the past council meeting that you mentioned that the rezoning will, some of it will take place in Merritt itself. It's got nothing to do with the provincial rezoning. I could be wrong on this, but it looks like you want to change an R2 to an R3 in Colchana. And I did pretty positive. I heard tiny homes being built in that area. I'm deadly against it. My neighbors know nothing about it really. I think it's being poorly advertised. It's something that is shoddy as far as, and I'm not talking about, well, I guess I am council in particular, but we're talking about whoever did this is shoving something into an overall topic that shouldn't be there. It should be something that people can see, a big sign or whatever, and rezoning, and this is what could happen, but not pushing something into an overall ad about the provincial government. That's just my thoughts about it. As they say, where I live, it's a very the area is sometimes struggling, you might say, with housing in general. We have an older homes in that area, and we've already put up with tiny homes just on Coldwater Avenue. And you just have to go down there and see what a tiny home looks like, because we've had it for about 20 years down there across from the store. And it's just a pigsty. And now they're up for sale. And that is your tiny home. Perfect. It goes back 30 years, but it is a tiny home. And we have a lot of people there that went through that system, and really they're not really desirable to be in Merritt or call themselves citizens of this area, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, the tiny homes concept, I think, really believes should be probably pointed to Vancouver, Burnaby, Langley, where they were struggling. But for us to just come up with this fad, and it is a fad for us to start pushing this here. We have plenty of space as far as I know. There are 50 apartments up top there that are being built right now. Why do we need tiny homes all of a sudden down here? We went through this a couple years ago with the cement houses. Hallelujah. Cement houses are coming. It's the greatest thing. CBC's got them all over, and we're building cement houses. And now we're into tiny homes. You know what? I'm older than most of you. Maybe the oldest one in here. But we used to call those little tiny homes hovel hobo homes. The hobos used to go there. And they were along the tracks. And you know what? This is the same area. The tracks are there, they're gone, but the same thing. You have little tiny homes for, in those days, they were called bums. Anyway, so the big thing I think that you have to also look at as far as impacting that fragile neighborhood that we're in, and we are in a fragile neighborhood. You have the maintenance yard down there with his, shouldn't say his, but fence down there and all the toys and everything spread out. We have a park that really has nothing in it except dogs, and it's been neglected. And now we're going to shove something else in there. And I know some of you live in that area, so you probably know what I'm talking about. The one big thing that I think that you should really look at is the contamination of that area. You're looking at a zone that is contaminated, and I guarantee you the tracks there are contaminated. You cannot build anything. I don't care where your geography is or your maintenance yard or whatever it is. 2 weeks ago, we dug up the tracks down below Dr. Holmes and Robert Hack's area. And we dug 4 feet down. And I guarantee you that every foot we went down, it was contaminated. You could smell the creosote. You can smell it. You can't build there. I guarantee you that. You may think you can, but you can't. Time you bring up the dig out for pipes and everything else, that whole area will have to be ripped out if you think that you're going to build a residential area in that. Just no way. I can't see it. It's not worth it. I think that probably the unsightliness of the area after a few years will probably prove that I'm right. They do become unsightly. You have people in there that are not going to stay in a tiny home for very long. They will not stay in a tiny home for very long. Guaranteed. And what you end up with is bikes all over, grass growing out of everything, junk in piles, you name it, curtains ripped out, cars broken down, just goes on and on. And you're backed right on to neighborhood there. You also spent a lot of money in putting a pathway through there. A lot of money. I see $2.3 million, and I guess it's not all there, but it's in that area. And now you're going to put small little tiny houses, I guess, on the other side of it. Then you're going to have people driving over it. I don't know how it's going to work out. Then you put a fence in there, and I imagine that fence costs about $30,000. Could be wrong. And then we're going to take that fence out, apparently. And I don't know what you're going to do with it, put the homes in there. I think that you've got a golden opportunity right there to make that into a linear park. You have a nice strip there, and you could make that into a real nice park. It would have to be dug out in certain areas if you're going to plant trees, because nothing will grow there, really. And you can probably put some tables in there and the shade, who knows, but you could fix it up pretty good for people that, we don't have too much in that area as far as walking areas. People can stop and sit down and relax. Yeah, so I think that the park idea would be good. You're going the wrong way when you start doing R3 from an R2. You should be going to a P1. I call it P1. In the old days, it was called P1, and that was a park. And I think that's what you should rezone it to, is a park. Besides, as the mayor knows, the city really owes that area a park, because you went and, not you in particular, but the city went and stole that Main Street Park from us. And that was a real, right now it's back into a P3 area. And anyway, Not in My Backyard is famous. And I think the OCP, if you could look at that, maybe develop it, keep that goal in mind of developing it as a park. I do have another area for you if you want to have an area that you could put these tiny, and I'm not being funny about it, but I know there's an area down by the fire department and that strip along the golf course there. We want tiny parks, and that would be kind of a neat area. And it goes along the fence there and backs onto other people, but it's an area that it would be unassuming and as opposed to being stuck out in the middle of nowhere. Anyway, you're gonna have to think about contaminated land. It's a big issue. And the impact of that particular project you have in mind. So that's it. I'm deadly against it. Not very many people in my neighborhood know about it. I really think it was, you say, chicken shit to do that what you did. You should have had a big sign and say rezoning and let people know. Be open with it. You know, and it's a good problem. Anyway. Does that mean I'm okay? Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
We'll get you to kill that mic on the way out. Thank you. So we'll address some of that once we get to the amending bylaw. Anyone else? Anyone else on the public input that was signed up? No? You got to come to the mic. Give us your name, sir. And when you get up to the mic, just push that red button and just get you to push that red button. There we go.
My name is John Robertson. I live on Coldwater Avenue. And I just heard about the tiny homes too. And I strongly disagree with them too. I've been listening to Lloyd and I totally agree with him. Plus the railway bed, yeah, it's contaminated because the ties that rot into the ground cause the contamination over time. But there must be other places where you can, like if I put up an apartment across some pharmacy or something like that, but we certainly don't need tiny homes down there along Colshannon. It'd be best, like he says, park, walkway. And the money wasted to put in the walkway and then tear it up to big tiny homes just doesn't make any sense. So that's about all I got to say. So
Thank you. Get you to push that button. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Excellent. 4.1, adoption of minutes, regular council meeting minutes, May 14th, 2024. Recommendation that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on May 14th, 2024 be adopted. Councilor Petrosi, Councilor Etchart, any errors or omissions? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. No general manners, no unfinished bylaws. 7.1, City of Merritt Waterworks Amendment Bylaw number 2370-2024. Recommendation that the City of Merritt Waterworks Amendment Bylaw number 2370-2024 be adopted. Councilor Petrosi, Councilor Rogan, any questions on that? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. 7.2, zoning amendment bylaw number 2368-2024. We have 3 readings. I'm going to read the first one and then we'll talk about it. Recommendation that council gives first reading to zoning amendment bylaw number 2368-2024. Councilor Etchart, Councilor Egan. Questions? So a little bit of history on that from sitting on council. When that first came up to us, I think back in 2012 or 2013, it was a lineal park, was going to be a lineal park and still continues to be thought of as a lineal park. The tiny homes, nothing has been decided on that. I'm not really sure how we've gone so crazy on this, but it was just a suggestion. I've walked it a million times and the idea of us building anything in there that would be viable does not sit well with me because I just don't think it would work out. The whole idea that it was going to be a lineal park is what it probably should remain and should be. Now rezoning it just gives us the opportunity to think of other things, but there's nothing saying we can't rezone it back to something else at any point in time. I think Councillor Charney and I are going to go for a walk here in the next little bit to have a look at it. And I've walked it several times and we did debate this when I was in council about putting some sort of rural housing in there, and it just does not seem to work or fit. So the tiny home situation was a suggestion, one of many things, and that's what happens when we do council and we talk about stuff, is we come up with several different ideas. So anyways, I'll leave it there. I'll push the magic button. Councillor Charney.
First of all, I'd like to thank staff for doing all this work on rezoning. I know it's provincial mandate, and you did a lot of work in a short period of time. If you did an excellent job. But I will like to address the city land on Colchana Avenue, changing it from R2 to R3. I think it should be put back into a park. If we change it to an R3, then we do have the potential for small homes or whatever to be built there. I have a few objections to that. First of all, the changing of the zoning was lumped in with all the provincial changes. The stakeholders in that area were not, it was not advertised that that specific area was going to be affected. Usually we put the signs up, and in the paper, we put the rezoning and you show the map. That was not done for this area. So therefore, most of the residents in this area have no idea that their zoning is changing. That is also on a floodplain. So if, for example, we did change it to an R3, then you decide to build, because it's on floodplain, those houses, structures would have to be built up. So therefore, you've got your path down, your houses up, Coldwater Avenue houses down. So water runoff will be an issue because it is on the floodplain. The infrastructure, how do you get your water, sewer, hydro on that? It's going to have to go under the path. So does that mean we have to rip up the path? I'm not an engineer, I don't know. Parking. I took my bike along there and I said, okay, if I got a little house here, where's the parking? You have to take your vehicle back and forth on that path, which I don't think it's really built to sustain vehicles back and forth. And it's not like, yes, I know Beers' house, their sidewalks goes across the path. If you have small structures in there, you're going to have multiple pathways within a short period of time. And I could see people parking on the path. This came to previous council, and as it was mentioned, they were going to put cement housing in there. It did not go, and I'm not too sure. Councillor Etchart could probably clarify that. I know that the cost of the cement housing was much more expensive than they thought, but I don't know if there was any influence on the stakeholders that were opposing to this. And do we need more affordable housing? We have the units going up top. We also have a new developer. Shoot, I had his name written down. We have a new developer coming in town, and he's looking at putting up between 30 and 50 low cost housing, affordable housing. So do we need more in this community? I think if we add up the number of units that we have that are affordable, we are in good standing. So I am against approving this. I would like to make an amendment to take out this section of the city land on Colchana, readdress the long-term plan for that area.
Okay, just hold on to that thought. Councillor Etchart.
This whole zoning amendment has a lot of changes in it. And just to address what Councillor Charney was saying is that when the flood happened and we were looking at different grants and not necessarily receiving the Treasury Board funding that we had gotten, the idea of the small homes, the 3D homes was suggested because it was grant availability. But when we looked at the feasibility in 2022, it was too high of a cost. So of course we didn't proceed. We had the public input and we did listen to the residents who came and had their opinions, and we listened to their thoughts, and we didn't proceed because we were in agreement that with the cost and the issues at the time. And even right now, if we do pass this zoning, people still have to apply for the permits. And I think that they can put caveats on what they would allow in the sizes and how they would design everything in the area as well, because this is just zoning, it's not the permits either. So we do have that to consider as well, because our approving officer would have to issue the permits and take those concerns with the parking and the pathway into consideration as well. So I know that I had concerns about the tiny homes after hearing input from everyone and the concerns and the costs. But also, if it ever were to even happen, they'd have to get a development permit and we could address the parking then. And once we pass this deadline of 2024 and the 2025 OCP amendment, maybe we could make other amendments or changes afterwards as well. This is, I think, right now, just to make sure that we're in compliance with what we've been downloaded. Thanks.
Councilor Petrosi.
That active transportation path, I've noticed it's being used more and more as time goes by. I drive that road a couple times a day and constantly see people. I saw a young couple with a couple kids tonight using that active transportation path, and the work that's gone into it, the money should stay as is. Park, we should keep it a park or and not build there. And yeah, I just can't see that land being used for, well, not tiny homes, but say 500 square foot homes. I can't see it. So, and I was kind of questioning the creosote soaking into the ground there and testing of the ground. And I don't think anything could grow there either. So thank you.
Thank you. Who's playing CAO tonight? Okay, so question that I'll pass to you, Mr. Green, is the fact. Can we move this forward and pull this piece out? And still move the zoning amendment as it sits, but pull this area out? Or can we make a change on the fly, or do we have to go through a whole process? I just need your input on how this should look, or yours, or Pranesh's. Someone needs to fill us in on what this looks like. Mr. Green.
Thank you, Your Honor. To frame up where we're at right now, just to repeat a little bit of what we talked about at the Cal meeting, and I need to frame it before I provide you a specific answer, is this particular property is involved in what we call one of the two things we're doing with the zoning bylaw. There's an OCP amendment or an OCP compliant part of it, and then there's a provincial government part of it as far as what they're requiring us. This particular thing fits into the stuff that's with the OCP. So framework wise, when we talk about advertising and public consultation, the entire OCP was heavily advertised from what I understand and heavily communicated. This is something that is matching the OCP as far as density, because it's really just moving from the R2 that's shifting to an R3 as these provincial standards change a little bit. This particular one probably is one that you can put off till later. You can change right now if you like as well, and bring back with a change from what I gather, right? I don't disagree with the sentiment at all. It's going to be very tough to build anything in there. When I was putting the pathway together, I had nothing in my mind that says the fence, the pathway, or anything is getting vehicles driven over it or taken out as part of construction. And related to the old railway, from what I understand, for the previous project that was done, they did do some testing and they cleared it. I haven't seen any of those reports. I'm going based on the secondhand information that I've heard from people in the time. So remembering that we're here for two different reasons, the ones that are OCP compliant are ones that were assumed to be fairly simple, not producing a lot of conversation. Obviously it is, and you definitely have some choice on that. The ones that are provincially required, we don't want to hold anything up because we're on a timeline with those.
Right.
So I would strongly suggest that this is causing some grief, that you either leave it the way it is and pick it up when we do the new OCP and zoning together in the next year, or you make a change now to something different.
Okay, thank you.
Bearing in mind that anything different isn't compliant with the OCP. So
Right.
they're not gonna line up at some point, and we'll continue to until you make them line up.
So just so people in the gallery understand, with some of the changes that the NDP has come with housing, many things are being forced on us without our ability to fight back on it. And their whole thing is housing, housing, housing. And if you don't do it, they'll simply override you and do it for you. So this is why this kind of came in as it is. This is something we probably would never have pushed forward unless we were pushed into this corner. They're asking us to do an OCP, which stands for Official Community Plan, and several other things in the space of time that we simply cannot meet. If you watch the news tonight, almost every mayor in BC is now asking for this new situation to be pushed back because we cannot meet the deadlines. It's virtually impossible to meet these deadlines. We can't do it. So when you see something like this is again being pushed forward by an entity that is not us. But saying that, Councillor Charney, would you like to make a motion to leave this as is until we get to our OCP process? Would you like to make a motion to, no, like Mr. Green said, if we put it to P1, we're now in contravention of the OCP situation. So I think the best bet would, I'll let you say it.
Well, of course, we have to go on council, but I would like to see this change to a P1. Get it P1, be done with it, and then align it with the OCP when we get that chance.
Mr. Green, so taking this to P1, what does that do for us in the eyes of the provincial government? Is that a finger shaker again for us, or what ends up, what problems do we come with this if we just leave it as it is and then deal with it when we go to the OCP? Or if we turn this, I mean, let's be honest here, at this point with around the table, at some point, we're going to make this P1. It's going to happen. But what happens if we do it now? And I don't want to catch you guys flat-footed. Sure.
Thank you, Your Worship. The reason that this amendment was bring forward that because it's consistent with the OCP and the current land use designation for the subject parcel on Kulchana, city-owned parcel on Kulchana is low to medium density residential. So to be consistent with the OCP, this amendment was brought forward. I just wanted to clarify some more details. So the building footprint for this lots would be 480 square feet, but it is likely that the builder would construct 2 to 3 story buildings, which will allow like an area of 960 square feet or 1,440 square feet if they go 3 stories. And every home will apply for permits, so every home will meet the BC building code requirement, and it will be inspected by the building permit regardless of size and shape. Each lot would be assigned a parking permit for one on-street parking, so that parking on the lots and driveways would not be necessary. So when we were discussing this amendment, we thought about all these requirements and then how a tiny, like what is the allowable footprint in that tiny lot. And then the OCP is this recommendation is consistent with the OCP. That's why it doesn't require any public hearing. So any amendments, zoning bylaw amendments, which is consistent with the OCP, it doesn't require a public hearing. So that's why this was proposed. Yeah, if the council decides that they don't want to proceed with this amendment, we can leave it as it is, and then we can think about it, have more conversation and research, and then think about for the future stage.
So not hearing a motion, I'm going to make the motion that we leave it as it is until we start to deal with, oh, sorry, hold on. Hold on, Councillor Egan.
I was just going to say that I'm in agreement with Councillor Charney. I also see that there is a green space P1 which ends at Spring Street and could continue right on down to Main Street along that path, where obviously it is already a path. So I think if you left it as it is right now, that would be fair enough, so that we're not in contravention with the OCP. And as long as it's kept in mind that we will be converting it to a P1 after.
Thank you. Councillor Richard.
My only concern is that if we don't change it at all, and that would even be if somebody actually puts a permit to put any kind of housing, whether it's 3-story or whatever they put in there, wouldn't they just legislate it eventually anyway and make us required to change it anyhow? Like, so are we just putting off the inevitable?
Hey, look, you know, if I'm more than willing to stick a finger in the eye of any kind of government that's out there, it's fine.
Yeah.
If we want to go,
know.
if we want to go to P1, then let's go to P1 because be honest, it's laughable to put a 3-story building in there because it'll probably get blown over because it'll be the size of it'll be as thin as this postage stamp. So what's
Yeah.
the point here? So if we want to make a motion to go to P1, I guess we'll have to suffer the consequences that come with it.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because, I mean, even if we do change it to the P3, what's the likelihood of anybody building there? There's been nothing there for how many years?
I got some other counselors here. Hold on. Counselor Ogan.
Thank you. So just to be clear, right now, the way as it is not consistent with the OCP, correct? It's not consistent. So if we decided to leave it as it is, we have to wait until we are gonna be working on the next OCP to be able to do that fix.
Right.
So by doing that, are we going to have any issues with the provincial government by not making the change?
Mike, I need your mic, sir. There we go. Mr. Green.
No, we'll simply be non-compliant for a period of time like we are in a couple of the other ones that we brought forward for this right now.
Can you please remind me when is the OCP due for?
End of 25, correct? Yeah.
Okay, so it's not that much. So, okay.
Counselor Baxter.
I make a motion to change it to P1 and amalgamate it with the park that's adjoining.
Do I have a seconder? Any questions on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment? Opposed? Carried. So back to the first recommendation, the council give first reading to zoning amendment bylaw number 2368, 2024 as amended. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
May I make one final comment, sir?
Yes, you may.
Am I on?
You are on.
Okay, just to be clear as well, remembering that this is a city-owned parcel and the city council is in the driver's seat on what happens to the parcel. So that was something that was gonna hold us back here. The city's in the driver's seat. It's not a developer parcel.
Mhm.
So just remember that as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Recommendation that council gives second reading to the zoning amendment bylaw number 2368-2024 as amended. Counselor Egan, Counselor Baxter, she moved her hand. Any questions or comments on this one? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Recommendation that council gives third reading to the zoning amendment bylaw number 2368-2024 as amended. Counselor Petrosi, Counselor Baxter again. Any comments on this one? All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, speakers, for speaking your mind. Appreciate that. Moving on to number 8.1, BC Transit Annual Operating Agreement. We have a recommendation that council authorize the mayor and corporate officer to sign the 2024-2025 annual operating agreement with BC Transit. I need a mover. Councilor Logan, Councilor Petrosi, second. Any questions on this? It's all in your package there. It's pretty self-explanatory. Sure. Councilor Egan. Councilor Egan, you're up.
Thank you. I just wonder how we can keep operating in such a deficit.
Well, again, here's the same thing. You operated a deficit with your arena, your pool, everything else. It's an accepted loss to a situation because we are the highest users. I mean, at some point, transit is going to have to raise their fees. It's that simple. We may have to start talking with them to make that happen, but people who don't have vehicles rely on that heavily. So yeah, we're taking a bit of a shot, but it's so we can have people move within the community and do our part to make sure our people can move around. The pool, the arena, it's a hole into which we pour money. They don't break even, but it's because we need to have that to have people come to this community.
I understand.
So I agree with you. It is, but this is where transit now needs to kick in and say, hey, how do we make this work? I mean, one of the reasons that we pulled back on removing them out of City Hall and taking that space over is because we did not want to see the fares rise for the users. So we needed that space, but to be honest with you, transit and the fare users for people is more important than that. So I think I understand, I read it and I said, yeah, I wonder how this keeps up. But again, we are a council, it's their business to make this work along with us. So I would say that possibly we should at some point ask that question to the higher ups. How do you plan on making this work, but keeping it affordable? And I'm going to get off my soapbox, but
Okay.
I agree 100%.
Okay, and then how does that play into the letter we received from the fellow from Victoria who wants free transit for anybody up to 18 years old and any senior citizen?
That's a suggestion, but it's coming from Victoria, who has a much bigger ridership than we do, who gets a much bigger cut of the pie than we do. So that is great for larger cities, probably over 100,000 or 150,000. It's not going to work for people, for cities under 10,000. It's simply not going to. And sure, it would be nice to do that and make sure kids get home safely and all the rest of that kind of stuff. But you have to take in the size of the community, and we can't compete with that. Sure, Victoria can. But that's just basically us. That's what they're doing. They would like to see other people in the province do that, but reality dictates we can't do that here.
But then should they not be giving us more money? Yes.
That's probably why when we go down to UBCM, we need to have a meeting with transit this time to start talking about this. And so, because usually, traditionally, we have always met with transit when we go to UBC to talk about these kind of things, UBCM. So I would suggest maybe we mark that down, CO, and we want to be put on the list to talk with transit as much as possible. Oh, Kevin is blinking. Mr. Nakajimi.
So two things, your worship. During the budget conversations, we identified the need for a fare review.
Yes.
So that request was formally submitted by myself. So we are on that list for the back half of the year. The second thing that I did want to mention is that there was supposed to be a transit presentation tonight that needed to get pulled and deferred to the next meeting. And it does have strategic impacts and will impact how transit runs in the community. And so if council can just wait till the next meeting, Elise Wren, the government relations manager, will be present to answer your questions. They've made some decisions that will have an impact on how transit is run here. I'm not gonna publicly kind of say that tonight, but they'll be present to present to all of you in 2 weeks.
Okay.
So if that's okay, if we'll just defer the strategic operating piece for that meeting.
So you're suggesting we defer this?
No, just the questions
Okay,
around
okay.
the viability of transit.
Okay.
This doesn't change
No,
the need
this is
for
just
this
the
1 year
agreement.
agreement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Council fine with that? Everybody okay? Any other questions on that? I got a mover and seconder on that, did I not? I did. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And we'll be looking forward to the, but thank you, Councillor Egan, for picking up on that. You're right. Emergency Operations Center Grant License. 8.2, recommendation that council review the expanded 2024 Emergency Operations Center Equipment and Training Grant from the Union of BC Municipalities. Councillor Egan, Councillor Olgan, questions on that report? I think it was a good report. We saw a good breakdown there. I think this is the EOC up by the airport. So I guess the only question that I have on this, and is Adam in the house? Adam, I'll get you come to the mic, please. Can you just state who you are, Adam, please?
I'm Adam Hart. I'm the Emergency Management Coordinator for the city.
Excellent. One of the things that I see a cost on is the partial rewire of the EOC building for generator compatibility and additional power outlets. Do we still have a working generator up there, or is that one now timed out? Or I know we put a new one in when I think it was 2012. And I'm just wondering, is that generator that's up there still there? Is it workable, or is it a done deal?
I'm not aware of there being a generator at the EOC building, your worship. Mr. Green, do you know anything about that or generator capacity?
Okay, so I guess my question would then is, why are we rewiring? So I'm assuming we're rewiring for a future.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
What would a generator cost us when we get to that? Do we know? Any idea? You can even ballpark it if you want to. I don't care.
So for a large sort of mobile generator, which was what we were looking at, sort of that would be on a trailer, probably around $15,000, something in that ballpark.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's all I've got. Anybody else? Let's see. Oh, everybody's mic is solid. I'm gonna go with Councilor Charney.
I just wanted to ask who will be taking these courses?
So the assigned training is for not just city staff, but it's also for in this context, what's described as the EOC policy group, which is essentially yourselves. So we're looking at not basically councillors, the mayor, and city staff will be participating in the EOC. So it's quite a large group.
So you're not looking for the public to take these courses and become part of the EOCs?
Not the public, no. So the public is able to participate in the Emergency Support Services Program, which is our volunteer organization. However, those courses are all offered free of charge by the Justice Institute, so there's no cost associated with them. At this point, we're not looking at having public participation in the Emergency Operations Center. My perception is that is more of a sort of closed door organization that has some important responsibilities in an emergency that potentially we would not want shared with the public as well.
So you're going to kind of screen these people, make sure after we train them, they're going to hang around for a bit. They're not going to take the training and go somewhere else?
Well, we have a limited pool of candidates to pull from just in terms of the city staff, but my assumption and hope is that they will be sticking around with our EOC for some time.
Okay.
Just so we understand, EOC training is, in order to work at the EOC, you have to be trained for it. Can't just come in off the street, so. Just a quick question before we get to Councillor Baxter. At TNRD, we went kind of through this, and one of the things that they said, the role of mayor and council at an EOC event is to stay away from the EOC. Is that the way we view it? Because I know with an ESS situation, even though I volunteer, and Councillor Charney and Councillor Etchart and Councillor Egan and those others that volunteer, we're there as citizens, but not, because mayor and council are not allowed at an ESS to come on site and be there while it's an actual operating ESS. So I'm just wondering why TNRD has the hard, fast rule that mayors and councillors stay out of the EOC. Do we have that rule here?
So there may be some confusion. I can't speak to specifically what the TNRD's policies are with regards to this.
Yep.
So for starters, I don't see any particular reason why mayor and council members could not participate in the Emergency Support Services Program. The main concern I would have is that, again, in the context of let's say a large emergency, so for instance, the 2021 flooding, the mayor and council serve as part of the policy group for the Emergency Operations Center. And in a very similar way to how the city runs on a day-to-day basis, they're responsible for setting the overall big picture direction that the emergency response would take, as opposed to, for instance, the day-to-day running of the Emergency Operations Center. So the Emergency and Operations Center, its day-to-day is run by a director who would be sort of, I'm going to mispronounce this word, analogous to the chief administrative officer that we have in sort of the day-to-day. So again, mayor and council responsible for the big picture and maybe making some of the very large decisions with regards to emergency response, as well as with exercising certain emergency powers that are provided for through the Emergency and Disaster Management Act. But they would, in all likelihood, not be participating sort of in a day-to-day role in the Emergency Operations Center.
Thank you. Councillor Baxter.
Have you gotten quotes from other areas, especially for you only went to Best Buy for some of this stuff? I looked up on Costco online and it was way more cost effective for the 12-inch floor fan, way more cost effective to go to other locations. Or even some of your totals didn't add up. There's actually way more money you're requesting than what your figures actually add up to. And have you gotten quotes for the refreshments for attendees to all these meetings? If you know how many are going to go.
So the refreshments one, so that was a carryover from the previous original grant. It would depend on the participation in the particular training event. With regards to the quotes, that can be changed depending on, as we get actually moved to make a purchase, we can find a better deal as would be suitable for that. So there's, it doesn't have to exactly match the budget there, but if we can find a better opportunity to spend money.
Seal, do we not have to have three rights? We usually go with 3 bids on anything we do we not?
It depends on the value
Okay,
for the purchase. We have a City of Merritt purchasing policy that we follow,
okay, thank you.
and it depends on, there's a threshold based on value.
So I'm sure you're going to get us the best deal you possibly can get, right?
Of course.
Of course. Councillor Charney.
I appreciate all the information you gave us here. I just finished a 3-day ESS course and it was very clear that EOC and ESS did not want mayor and council in there unless they were trained. And then they were welcome, but they did not want mayor and council, especially in a crisis, to come around and start poking their nose in things. But if they're trained, then that's a totally different thing.
Absolutely, Counselor. And the purpose of this budget is in part to train mayor and council so that they're at least familiar with the functioning of the EOC stuff. Me personally, I just mentioned my role. I'm not a particular stickler potentially for what the JAIBC prescribes. So I'm not going to be kicking anyone out of the EOC or anything like that. That would not be my intentions.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you for the report and thank you for speaking to us. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much, Your Worship.
Oh, Mr. Green.
I'd hate to be the one to do this, but it's gonna be me and I'm gonna have to back everybody up here to our previous conversation. So although we expected a lot of communications tonight on different topics on the zoning that we were prepared for, we didn't expect that to the depth that it went to. So we've been counseled back and forth now with our outside professionals. And it looks like that would be an illegal decision. Your decision would be leave it alone. Or wait, you can't make a decision now to rezone it. You'd have to do the OCP first. So there is a technicality on that I didn't listen quite clearly enough to.
Sure, no problem.
So
These
what
things
we-
happen.
in theory, what we would have to do is repeal the 3 readings and the amendment, I believe, and then go forward with a new amendment to leave it alone.
Okay.
That way, we're not physically changing it. We can change it later after the OCP. So apparently we can't make a decision legally that goes against the OCP at this point.
Apparently you don't know everything.
Yes, no, that one's mine. You betcha.
CO? So let me just run something by you both. Do we just let this sit till next meeting and then do that? Or, okay, let's go.
Thank you, Your Worship. We do have a motion on the floor in regards to item 8.2, which I would suggest that we finish.
Yes,
first.
we will.
Then what we
Sorry.
can do is we can go back to
7-1.
item 7.1, 7.2.
2.
And then we'll deal with it at that point.
Okay. So we have the first, I do have a mover and seconder for the first reading, do I not?
You,
Yeah, 8.2. Sorry.
yes, you have a mover and a seconder.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carry. Recommendation that council approve the management of expanded emergency operations center equipment and training grant. Councillor Etchart, Councillor Egan, any questions? All those in favor? Recommendation that council direct staff to provide oversight for the implementation of an expanded emergency operations center equipment and training grant. Councillor Etchart, Councillor Olgan, any questions on that? All those in favor? Boom. Okay, so let's go back in time to 7.2. Zoning amendment by law number 23682024 was amended to turn it into P1. And we did all 3 readings, which we now know we cannot do. So we need to repeal all 3 readings and then come back as leaving it as it is until the OCP is addressed. So let's make this super simple. I'm not going to read this 3 times. Or do I have to? Okay, I'll do it.
No, we can do this in one. That council repeal first, second, and third readings of bylaw. Never actually done this before.
Yeah.
Um,
Bylaw 23682024 is amended. Because we have to get the amendment in there. Because we amended it to go to P1.
yes, we amended.
Well, that's what I'm saying, as amended. So that covers the amendment.
So that council repeal readings two.
Trust me, I've done this at TNRD.
Okay, I'm gonna let
So-
you drive then.
So basically, what we're going to do is the recommendations is that council give first, second, and third reading to zoning amendment bylaw number 23682024 as amended. We need to repeal that.
Yes.
So I'm looking for a motion to Excellent, Counselor Baxter. So the recommendation is that we repeal readings first, second, and third. Zoning amendment bylaw number 236822024 as amended. Counselor Baxter, Counselor Ogan. Any other questions? Hold on, hold on. All those in favor? Opposed? None. So now, recommendation that council gives first reading to zoning amendment bylaw number 236822024. Oh,
Well, we bring it.
I believe there
First.
was a motion regarding the amendment too that we got to back out of. And then we need a new amendment to do nothing with that particular item.
we voted to pull the three back as amended. We amended it to P1. So we amended it, so we voted on the amendment as amended. So we read it off, we said P1, we agreed on the P1. And then we went as amended, and then we read all three again.
But I think there was a motion
was-
involved in the amendment, and I think
Yes.
we have to back out of that one too.
Well, what was the motion?
The amendment to change it to P1 instead of,
As amended, that is the word we're using, as amended. The motion was to amend it to P1. So we read the motion as that council gives first reading to zoning amendment bylaw number 236822024 as amended. And amended was, the amendment was the P1 zoning. I mean, we can do it either way, whatever works the best here, but,
Let's do it
Yeah.
the very,
We're-
very clear way.
okay,
yeah,
so,
we're getting council to pull it.
Yeah.
Okay.
At the Quilshana amendment as well.
Okay.
Then you need a new amendment to.
okay, so
Leave it.
again. So we are now, let's erase all of that. So here we go again. The amendment to the recommendation was to have it as P1. We need that rescinded. Thank you, Counselor Baxter, Counselor Petrosi. So the amendment for P1 to be pulled, all those in favor? Opposed, carried. Now, we need to pull that council gives first, second, and third reading zoning amendment bylaw number 236822024. Now, hold a second. Now, we pulled off the amendment. Right?
This is why if we repeal,
You repealed the amendment.
if we repeal first reading or rescind first or third reading, rescind second reading, and then we rescind the amendment, then what we're left with is consideration at first reading.
So here's the thing. So we've repealed the amendment of P1, which now takes us back to the original amendment. So we shouldn't have to repeal the amendment to have the amendment come back in again. No, what I'm saying is we are now at square one where we first started. The motion is that council gives first reading to zoning amendment bylaw number 236822024 as it sits right now.
Okay.
We repealed the P1. So the P1 amendment is gone. So we are basically back at this one right now.
So we've rescinded third reading, we've rescinded second reading, we've rescinded the amendment.
Yes, it's gone.
So now we're sitting at first reading, not amended. So we're
First reading, not amended. So we're basically at square one. Square one. So,
So now we need a mover and a seconder for
No.
first.
no,
No, we're just.
okay, well, hold on. Sorry, I get what you're getting at. Okay. So here we go. Recommendation that council gives first reading to zoning amendment bylaw number 236822024. Counselor Petrosi, Counselor Baxter. Any questions? Yes, I have one. I would like to make a motion that we leave the amending, the OCP or the zoning as it is now until we get to the OCP change in 2025.
Mm,
Because if we don't do that, we're going to be making sure this is R3. So we're now approving this for R3.
So we've got first reading, first and seconded. Now we're making an amendment to the first reading.
It's just like anything else, because I've asked, someone asked a question, does anybody want to, yes, I do, me, here we go.
Right.
So I want this to be left as is, the zoning as it is, until we rezone, or we get to the OCP in 2025, and we can deal with it there. That's when we could push through the P1. So right
then this
now,
is very specifically for the property on Kilshanna Avenue.
Yep.
That is going to be left as R3.
yes. Sorry, my specific, I wasn't specific enough,
That's the
yes.
amendment. That's
Yes, the
resolution,
amendment is
amendment.
that this area be pulled out of this
It's an R2. It's gonna be left as R2.
That from this particular zoning bylaw.
Okay.
So yeah, I suppose it should be more specific. Mine is that we move ahead with the zoning amendment bylaw as it is with this parcel removed. And leave it as the R2 until
And that's the new amendment.
that's the
That's
new
the
amendment.
amendment. So that's how we're changing the bylaw that's on the table right now.
So first reading, new amendment to remove that Quilchena parcel from the discussion in this and then move forward.
Okay, so now
So-
we're voting on the amendment.
So now.
Sorry about the mess,
Let me
y'all.
make this a little clearer. So I've read that part. My motion is that we remove this parcel out of this zoning bylaw. And continue as we normally are, but that parcel gets pulled out until we deal with the OCP in 2025. Okay, Counselor Ogan, Counselor Charney, any questions on that? All those in favor of the amendment? Thank you. Now, coming to the second reading as amended. That council gives second reading to the zoning amendment bylaw number 2368-2024 as amended. You gotta wait till I actually say. Easy, Tiger. All those in favor? Oh, wait. Sorry, Counselor Baxter, Counselor Charney. All those in favor? I hope we're not recording this.
This is recorded, which is good.
Recommendation that council give third reading to the zoning amendment bylaw number 2368-2024 is amended. Councilor Petrosi, Councilor Egan, I'm not even looking over here. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Thank you. A learning experience for us all. No, not at all. No, that's what we need to have happen. That's why you get paid the big bucks, right? Moving on to 8.3. Get you to kill your mic there, Seal. Thank you. 8.3, UBCM minister meetings, recommendation that the May 15th, 2024 report of the Director of Corporate Services entitled 2024 UBCM minister meetings be received for information. Councilor Rogan, Councilor Egan. Again, we all know how this works. So I think we do have some motions that that we're going to be bringing forward to UBCM. I think we'll have several discussions on that before we get there. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Notices of motion. No notices of motion. Oh, yes. Councilor Egan.
Counselor Charney brought a motion at the last cow. Yes, you did.
About the swimming pool?
About the swimming, was that passed?
Yeah, hold on a second. Yeah, hold on. Yeah. Yeah, I think we already.
Was that a cow?
The swimming pool,
Yeah,
the one in regards to the swimming
Seal,
pool has been.
Okay.
yeah, it's been done. Thank you. No problem. Yeah, we could.
It will be brought forward at the next meeting and I'll just get the finalized wording from both of you before we put the next agenda together.
So notices of motion, no notices of motion. Okay, good. Reports from council. I will move ahead on this one. Because I have some information that people need to understand because it's going to come out here. Council already knows about this. We put in a DMAF request, disaster mitigation adaptation funding for the federal government to help us reclaim the dikes. We put that in July 2nd of 2022 or 2023. And after 2.5 years, we've been denied. Federal government doesn't want to give us a single penny. So we have a plan. Princeton was also denied, which is devastating for us because it doesn't give us opportunity to protect our people. It also takes a lot of years of work that our people have done, our staff, our ROC, everybody else that was involved, and has been absolutely flushed down the toilet. So to put this in a context, I've contacted the mayor of Princeton. His council and our council, we are going to work together to come up with a presentation to Minister Sajan along with Dan Albus and Jackie Taggart to find out why we have been bypassed with no ability to protect our citizens. 2.5 years is unacceptable. Nothing about Chilliwack, but believe it or not, Grand Forks got some money. So even though they received $56 million in 2019, apparently they need a little bit more. So we will move forward. The first steps will be to draft a plan and through with Dan Albus, with the two cities working together and get that and find out exactly why it has happened that way. We'll keep you posted on that. It's very deflating to have this happen, and it's something that mayor and council are not going to let just sit. We have lots to say about it, but we'll start taking the diplomatic route first, and then we'll get a little crazy after that if we have to, because it's unacceptable for this to happen this way. There was really no explanation of why. It was just no. So we're not really sure that Minister Sajan has actually looked at this, because sometimes ministers don't look at what their underlings do. So we're going to make sure he has a very close look at it. And the past minister was in town with the past mayor, and I do believe I have a clip where he's saying, "We have your back, don't worry about it, we'll get things fixed for you." It's not what we're hearing now. So both the mayor and council from both Princeton and Merritt are going to work on this, and we'll move forward, and we'll keep you updated as we move forward. So sorry about the bad news, but there we are. So yep.
Also wondering how this affects the construction of the bridge in terms of the diking by the clay banks.
That's all covered. Bridges. So just so we understand, this is a two-tier system, and maybe Sean should be here, but partial of this is provincial, partial of this is federal. The money that we've received, now the province has done their due diligence. We've had over $35 million given to us from the province, and the bridge is covered. We received our last permitting. You got all the last permits to get it done. I sent it all to you. So that's a done deal. That's an absolute done deal. And I actually have a list that I'm going to send to you all of what's been approved and what's outstanding and what's in engineering. Sean gave that to me today. I just didn't get a chance to get it out to you all. But the bridge is a done deal. There's no
Just
question.
wondering how it affects the diking around.
That's a done deal. The bridge can't go ahead until the dikes are fixed because they were weakened. And what I'll send you, or you kind of saw today where they had the Section F, Section G, what had to be removed. And I do believe we have from July 22nd to August 1st to remove some of that stuff. So you have a 10-day fish window. It's just the way it is. So the province has done their part to a certain degree. And I'm going to be honest, the federal government pressured the provincial government to be involved in this to make this work. And then when it came time for them to put their pesos up, they walked away. It's as simple as that. So not only did we get hosed, the provincial government got hosed as well. So we'll work with that. I've already contacted Minister Mall, let her know what's gone on. I have a call into Minister Cullen, who is with Waterlands and Natural Resources, because we need him to be involved with the CLAP program, because this could affect that. CLAP is where we have the homes that need to be bought out. This could affect that. I think those people have waited long enough to be taken care of, and we were very close. And now we're not sure where this leads, all of that. So we're not going to say too much about it right now because we need to find out more information, but we will, as a council, start asking the questions. So we will all do that together. So and get something for the community and get some answers. Councilor Petrosi.
Yeah, just a quick question from Main Street to where the two rivers meet behind the works yard. Was that part of it also?
No,
Or is that-
basically everything north from the bridge is affected under this. So everything to the city works yard is still has been approved. Some of it has, some of it hasn't. But the only problem is there's a land buyout that has to happen. So we can't build dikes unless we own the land. We don't own the land that the dikes need to go on. So there's a couple of other things that can play into this, and we're talking with the ROC to see how this goes. But first of all, I think before we get too excited, we just need to find out the rationale and why it happened. Now, this could be simply, we couldn't catch you this year, but we'll catch you next year. That's maybe a little hard to swallow, but at least there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So right now, we just don't really know why it's happened. So we'll take a very, political step. We'll make sure that we're being very cordial, and we'll work that way and make sure we get all the answers, and then we'll make some changes as we move along, because we're simply, as a council and mayor, not going to accept the fact that we're not getting any help. Sorry, it's just not going to work. We've worked way too hard, suffered way too much. And a lot of people are still PTSD over this thing every time it rains too much or whatever. So it's not acceptable to leave Riverside with no dike, leave trees with no dike. It's unacceptable as we come into, and I mean, we're lucky this year because we have a freshette that's down, but we get a normal freshette that causes problems. And if you were going to abandon us like this, you should have told us 2.5 years ago so we could start doing something to protect those people. But again, we will play with the rules now as they exist, but we may have to alter that as we move along. So thank you. We'll move on now. Now to happier things. May 16th, I was at TNRD. And then I came back for a couple of the Vancouver Canucks view parties, which was a lot of fun. And I want to thank the staff over at Civic Center for doing that and all the city staff that was involved for the view parties for the Canucks, even though they kind of exited, but you know, they did well. So no complaints there. May 18th and 19th, I was up at the May Day drag races, which were really good. The people that ran it really did a great job. They brought in some great attractions. There were some great cars up there. The winner walked off with $10,000 and he was happy to do so. And it was a really lot of fun 2-day event. They had to move around the rain, but they got it in and it was really enjoyable. They probably are going to come back next year in June rather than May, because May long weekend's a little unstable. So really glad that they were here. May 21st, Cal meeting. May 22nd, Nicola Meadows, I went to Nicola Meadows and met with the seniors and answered some of their questions. And I meet with them once a month and it's enjoyable. Then I came back and I met with the Nicola Watershed group to talk about the Nicola Watershed and where we're moving in on that. And then later that evening, I attended the Fall Fair Parade. The people that are putting on the Fall Fair Parade are starting to get mobile on that now. So Jackie Whitecross is doing it again, so I thank her very much for that. May 23rd, the Economic Development Officer, myself, met with Edison Motors up at the airport to show them potential property that they could be using. So we walked around, they looked at things, we talked about things, and we are working with them to sign a lease and get them in to the airport and get building. May 26th, I went to the Rick Cromarty Memorial. Rick was a very good friend of mine and I've known him since 1977 and he passed away. He was quite the gentleman and it was a nice gathering at his house. There was a lot of people from all over the community and it was nice to see a send off for Mr. Cromarty because he was just that kind of guy, a really nice gentleman. Same night I met with John Rustad. He had a stakeholder meeting with the mayor and a lot of the stakeholders in the community about where they're going, where they're not going. And then he had an open house from 6 till 8, but it was nice to meet with Mr. Rustad to pick his brain on where they're going to go. And today I went to the secondary school where they had the Battle of the Books. And that is kind of like, if you're my age, there was a thing years ago called Reach for the Top, if you kind of remember that. Anyways, I think 5 or 6 teams. They had teams from all over this area and they had to read the same book and then questions were asked and I asked 20 questions. I had no idea what the answers were. I just asked the questions, but it was really neat to see these kids comprehend what they had read and I'm not sure what the final result was, but it was a lot of fun to see that. It was really, and these were elementary kids coming to the secondary thing and they had their shirts on and they had their cheering team. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. It was a really good thing. So that was me, Councilor Petrosi.
Mayor Getz, thank you very much for the video and the photos from the May drag races. So I appreciate all the councillors sending photos and videos from things that I can't attend. So there's a few that I cannot attend. So attended the Florentine Barbecue Chamber of Commerce on Thursday, May 16th with pretty much everybody. It was well turned out. Stopped at the community policing office, speaking with the coordinator there on Tuesday, May 21st, and I was surprised the door was locked. Yet the hour said she's open. Anyway, she saw me. She was in her office and she opened the door and she said she's had to lock the door now because she doesn't feel safe downtown. Quite a statement from her. And she mentioned increase in alcohol consumption. Something that's got to be done. And I told her we can discuss that at the next police committee meeting. But it's pretty concerning that she has to lock her door. Usually it's an open door, right? Anybody can come in and speak with her. So, and just a quick mention, the RCMP regimental dinner ball taking place this Saturday. 160 tickets are sold and it's a big deal that Merritt is hosting this. So just let you know that hopefully we get lots of photos and there's going to be a few of us that are going to be attending. Sorry, the regimental ball this Saturday. So hopefully get lots of photos and that's about it.
Thank you. Counselor Egan.
Yeah, I was busy, but I wasn't really that busy attending too many things. I did go to the barbecue, but there was a pre-meeting with the Chamber of Commerce at 5 o'clock, 4:30, and then we had the dinner at about 5:45, which was really good. I also attended the 21st Committee of the Whole. BCA Chamber had a special general meeting last Thursday morning, which, to say the least, was the most unorganized meeting I have ever attended. On the 26th, I went to the service for our infamous taxi driver, Al McCauley, who passed away a couple of weeks ago. There was a full house at the Desert Inn and a lot of really great stories told by him. And he's was very well loved because he put his customers first. Second to his family, of course. And yes, regimental ball on June the 1st. Should be a fun time if I can get there. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Charney.
Well, I forgot to look at my calendar, so I'm just piggybacking off these guys. So May 16th, Business After Business. It was an excellent meal. I really enjoyed it. I attended the cow, and then on Friday, or Thursday, I went down to the Justice Institute and spent 3 days there at a ESS session on a director, and it was excellent. I really enjoyed it, but get a little long in the tooth for long days of learning. But what are the highlights? The biggest change to the ESS is instead of billeting now, that was you got $13 for the first person and then so many dollars for the second. It's $200 now for the main household person. So you take your $200 and you can go stay in someone's backyard. You can go camp in the hills. You can go to an RV park. They're not pinholing it anymore. So that it opens it up and it takes less stress on the hotels. So that's the biggest change that they are. And again, encouraging ERA instead of paperwork. That's the biggest thing. But yeah, and again, the regimental ball, as I said, I'm gonna be the only one in a short dress. Everyone else is being long, but that's okay. The mayor said he won't wear a long dress,
No.
so.
Good on that one.
Anyway, and that's it for me.
Thank you. Counselor Baxter.
I attended the Business After Business on Thursday, May 16th. It was really good. I liked it. And I went on Friday, May 17th, down to the downtown street market and visited some booths and got some really yummy treats from Camille Sweet Treats and Empty Dreams. And it's a great way to support local businesses. And then on Saturday, I just went to the Edison Electric Cart Challenge up at the rodeo grounds. And it's a great thing to watch the MSS team with their 2 carts. And it was a fun time watching all the 3 different events. It was really fun.
Counselor Hogan.
So for me, it was as well the business after business for the Chamber of Commerce for Laurentine. Also, I have a discussion with Jacqueline Whitecross regarding the fall parade. So she was expressing her concerns about the organization last year. So she needs volunteers, people who can help her, to pull this off. On Friday, that Friday I attended the summer night market. So the first market for the Chamber of Commerce, looking forward for the other events. And also I met with Kamloops Immigration Services. Now they have chosen the date. So it's going to be the event that they are organizing for our community. It's on July 13th from 9 to 3 p.m. And there will be some information that we'll be receiving. So it's all for the services that they provide and the newcomers in our community. And it's going to be just an event at Central Park, just to have some fun and, do some networking.
Thank you. Counselor Etcher.
Just regurgitating the same thing everybody else did. The same business after business, went to the farmer's market, or not the farmer's market, the Friday night market. And I did not make it to some of the Edison event because I was stuck working, and went to the comedy memorial and as many things as I could when not getting stuck with other things. But we have a lot coming up in June, I'm sure. So we'll have a busy couple weeks. Hopefully the sun's out.
And the Edison rodeo, again, it was really nice to see these kids a lot of time kids get maligned that they're hanging around doing nothing, and to see these kids put these things together and be as excited about it running, and every team cheered for every team. It was really nice to see. So the only thing, it would be nice if there would have been some PA, because I really didn't know who was who and what was happening. But it was still really good to see kids getting involved in that. It was, especially when that one flipped over on the hill and when everybody freaked out, but the guy was fine. That's why they have roll cages on him. So, but no, it was really well done. Thank you, everyone. Information items. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them in your package. Anybody, any questions on any of those information items? They're all pretty self-explanatory. Councillor Olgan.
Yeah, no questions. So like you said, it's very self-explanatory. I just want to talk about the community foundation, inter-community foundation. So they are having their AGM on June 12th. If you recall, last year, I was able to attend that AGM. So it's always important for us to understand the different grants that they have provided within our community, either for organizations or for individuals. I think that if anyone would like to attend, would be a good opportunity for a council to attend that AGM. Thank you.
And I was gonna kind of ask that because I have to be 100% honest with you. Every time I get this every year, I'm not really sure what it is or what it covers or where we're going with it. So if there's somebody that would like to attend it, please let us know, and we'd be more than happy to get you.
You gave them some money?
Yeah, you can see it.
No.
It's not a crazy amount of money, but we do give them X amount of dollars sort of thing. It's very low mileage. That's why
They give the bulk of it to the dance society.
I guess so. Again, I would love to tell you, I know exactly what this was, but I don't.
Mhm. Yeah, I was a little bit surprised by it too, but
Yeah, so if there's anybody that's interested in, championing it, let us know. No problem. Thank you for bringing that up, Mayor. And of course, the letter from Mr. Farnser with the ever ongoing saga of the Surrey Police Department. So anyone else? Okay, good. CAO update in front of you there, since we don't have the CAO here. She is in Edmonton tonight. Here's the CAO update. We also have, the fire department 2024 statistics. And as always, the one thing that I'm always surprised to see is how many false alarms are on this thing. And that's where a lot of our costs come in, are these false alarms. So, Councillor Charney.
Well, I had a false alarm, but it wasn't my fault. Anyway, I was kind of disturbing where you see the increase in the grass, bush, shrub, tree, forest fires and campfire contrary to bylaw. There's quite an increase in both of those. So we're not getting it through to people that we're in a danger area for fires, and they have to be careful what they're doing.
Yep.
Can I also comment on the CPO, or do I have to wait for that?
No, go ahead. Wait, we're just doing the fire department right now.
Okay, I'll wait.
Councillor Petrosi, fire
Yeah,
department.
I just wanted to comment on the false alarms. Are they charged after so many false alarms?
Well, they're-
The business, like $100, or is there a charge?
I would imagine there would be.
Okay.
I would imagine.
I know in Kamloops, they do charge after so many that so many false alarms.
I can ask the chief and see where that goes. So I can't give you an answer, but I would imagine there is something to cover that because it comes out of their budget, right? I mean, they're on call paid fire. So
Yeah.
when they respond to these, they get paid.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
it kills their budget, so. Moving to CPO, Councillor Charney.
Yeah, I read Marlene's report, and it's kind of disconcerting on the Spirit Square. The problems that they are having there. I notice a big increase in alcohol consumption downtown. Groups of people that are loud, rude, swearing, urinating. And I think that it should be a priority of mayor and council to address this situation. You know, we're looking at unsightly homes, but we have to also look at our downtown core. It's very discouraging when tourists come in and they walk by and they're being sworn at or spit at. So I think she nailed this on the head, and I think it's not just Spirit Square, it's the whole downtown core that we have to look at and maybe ask for more enforcement and whatever we can do to clean it up.
So I meet with the staff sergeant and the other gentleman, Brock Hedrick. And with council's permission, I can ask for more enforcement and no alcohol in Spirit Square. It's real simple for me to do, but if I get a nod of the head here from council, that is the next thing that we will do. Well, they are doing foot and bike patrols. So what I have to do, or what we have to do is when we talk, we have to give them a specific set of marching orders. So if council is cool with that, I will ask them to start making sure that happens. And I have to be honest, I went to the Friday night market. My granddaughter, we were heading to Spirit Square, came around the corner. There was one person sitting in the thing, in the flower bed, took a drink, flopped over backwards. It was a female, her shirt went up around her head, and it was, here we are. And my granddaughter's like, what is going on? So yeah, I think, to be honest, we've put up with a lot of this for a while, but I think it's now time that we put a stop to it. And the citizens are taxpayers, and their downtown is their downtown. So we will start to press on that, and that'll be my message to the staff sergeant and Brock when I meet them in the next one, that we need to have that stopped ASAP. So no problem. Hold on a second, Councilor Petrosi's up,
Yeah,
then you.
I just wanted to mention, when you do talk to them about, when they are dumping alcohol, dump everything, seize everything, dump everything. And some of these individuals will probably learn after a while that
Mhm.
it's going to be dumped, no matter what.
Yeah,
And,
We're just open alcohol. I think it's had its time.
Yeah.
And there's a part of being compassionate, and there's the part where you've been pushed to a limit. And I think it's time that, I'm getting a lot of complaints that people are being harassed, getting their mail and everything else. So, I mean, I went to the thrift shop today to talk about the issues they're having with their dumpster. And there's somebody, we weren't even sure if they were alive behind the dumpster. We had to make sure that they had a heartbeat, and it's getting a little carried away now.
well, when, she locks the door, she doesn't feel safe down there
Mhm.
with the people that come in.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we have
no.
to do something.
Yep, we're gonna move forward on. Councilor Regan.
I was just wondering if, I know there's been some discussion about perhaps the top floor of the Desert Inn have they been cleared out of there yet?
Again, this is BC Housing that is in charge of that, so we as a community can't make any recommendations on that, but we have asked the question with BC Housing. You'll notice more tents out in the area.
Yes, in the back.
That's
of-
because rooms are being closed. Our RCMP will not go into the building now without breathing protection. So that gives you an idea where we're at. Not really sure. What we can do is probably tap BC Housing on the shoulder and find out where they are. They're not being super communicative with us at this point in time. So, yeah, that's what we can do.
I was just wondering if that effect or the closers up there also increases what's happening downtown.
Well, I would imagine, I don't know if that increases what happens downtown, because normally at the shelter between the hours of, I think, 10 and 4, they're all out of the shelter because they just can't sit in their rooms. They've got to get out of the shelter. Some of them have appointments. So that has normally been going on since the shelter's been open. So I don't think what's happening at the shelter will change how many people are actually out on the street. I don't think so. I think what we have to take into consideration is the fact that it's warming up. People are more transient now. They're moving, it's not as cold. So they're coming out of their cold weather areas, and now they're moving to get where they need to go or do what they need to do. So I have to be honest, a lot of the people that I have seen and talked to, I do not recognize as locals. It's very easy to recognize the locals, and I don't see a lot of locals anymore. So, but no, the problems at the shelter will not dictate what's happening downtown because they're always out of their rooms anyway. So, but BC Housing, we will definitely get a hold of BC Housing this week before Friday and
Good,
find out
thank
what their
you.
plan is. Councilor Rogan.
Yeah, thank you. So, yes, I am in agreement with exploring what else can be done regarding the alcohol consumption. So my question is that enough? I think that everyone is on the same page, or do we need to put a motion forward, to address that issue?
If you want to put a motion forward, please feel free. I'll do both. I mean, I think it would be, a stronger situation coming where all of council is united. So if you would like to see a motion done on that, then I'm more than happy to
Yeah,
move in that
happy
direction.
to put that motion forward with your help to word the motion.
Seal.
So we're wanting to direct staff to speak with,
I think, I think what we're looking for is the fact that when I speak with the RCMP in my monthly meeting, that I have council's backing for them to move forward with the crackdown on alcohol use in our public areas. I don't know, do we need a motion for that or just council support? I'm curious.
we could say that council direct the mayor to work with the RCMP to improve enforcement in the downtown corridor.
Alcohol, so yeah,
Regarding consumption, alcohol consumption.
well, not just alcohol, it has to be. Well, the only problem is the police committee meets 4 times a year, right? So, and we just met not too long ago, so this could, I'm not sure when our next meeting could be August. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Issues,
Yeah.
in
Yeah, I think we should cover all.
other places.
I mean, 2.5 decrim now is not allowed out in certain areas. It has to, so that kind of covers it, but I think a blind eye has been turned because there hasn't been the push from us to make sure it doesn't happen. So we can word that.
So to increase enforcement in the downtown core?
Yep.
Is that broad enough to
Yep.
cover all?
We can move that. That's going to be what it's for anyways, is public safety. So, yeah,
That council direct the mayor to work with the RCMP to increase enforcement in the downtown core to improve public safety?
I like it.
Councillor Rogan, that's your motion?
Yes.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Petrosi? Any questions on that? All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Council resolutions. So basically that is what we've done. That's our work, what we've done. So it's always nice to look at that because sometimes you forget some of the things that you've done. It's nice to see it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for the very small writing. So I have to wear my 3.2.5 glasses. I appreciate it because I can't see anything. Any comments on the resolutions that we've probably shouldn't be any comment because we've approved them. So we should be good. Very good. Excellent. Closed session recommendation that this meeting be closed to the public pursuant to sections 91A, personal information about an identifiable individual who holds or is being considered for a position as an officer, employee, or agent of the municipality or another position appointed to the municipality of the community charter. Councillor Etchart, Councillor Petrosi. All those in favor going into closed night? Go into closed, 5-minute break. Smoke them if you got them. Shut your.